Yo, I respectfully disagree podcast back with another one. Want to welcome friend of the show. I'm always shouting him out. Mr. Mario from My Therapist Made Me Do This podcast.
Yes,
What's good,
sir.
man?
Man, not much, man. Same old, man. Same stuff, different day. Same stuff, different day.
Absolutely. So most definitely, I appreciate everyone that's been listening and rocking with the channel. The YouTube's been going crazy. I made a post about the Kendrick Lamar Drake thing, and I knew that Kendrick's fan base is solid. They're gonna go to war for him, but I had no idea. Like, I just posted a 2-minute clip, and as of this morning, it was over 1,000 views. And when I tell you, people have been posting paragraphs, like just going in, I was like, you know what? I appreciate people looking at it, but I'm not gonna go back and forth. It's a losing battle at this point.
Bro, they might be. So I actually saw that. They might be just as bad as Beyonce fans, bro. It's just certain people you can't talk bad about. You can't. Even it ain't even bad. They just having subjective opinion. They don't like that.
That was my approach to it. It's like, bro, I know K Dot can rap. It's just, for me, his music just ain't what I like. Yep. I never once disrespected the man. I even tried to be fair and be like, hey, a couple of them tracks, dog, he was bodying Drake, like, for real.
Yeah.
That ain't good enough. It ain't. But I'm saying all of that because, like I said, y'all know the routine. Like, share, subscribe. Most definitely check out My Therapist Made Me Do This podcast. And I'm saying all of this because I've been knowing you for years, whether it's
years, bro,
groups and things like that. And we've both said it on each other's platforms. Just like, never had the opportunity to come face to face with each other. And a couple of weeks ago, you posted that you were going to be coming to a AAU tournament in Indianapolis. I'm like, cool, man. That's right up the street. I was like, I'm gonna try to make sure I ain't got nothing going on. I'm gonna go pull up just simply off the strength of I want to go shake this man's hand. Like,
yeah,
you good peoples, you always shout the podcast out, and y'all know I do support the homies. So anytime that I can make myself present to support or do anything, I'm gonna always be there. So
he don't just say it, he live it.
Most definitely. So I had that opportunity, and that's what we talking about today. we gonna recap that AAU tournament, the experience, talk about you coaching and some of the things that transpired while we were there.
Yeah.
And I'm finna give the floor to you, bro, because the topic of this pod is gonna be the current state of AAU basketball, because there's a lot of layers that I want to unpack. Whether we get a chance to do that today or not, that I'm not sure, but I'm going to give the floor to you because you brought your team from Arizona all the way to Indiana. And for me, it kind of helped me put things in perspective, because I know, like, for here in Kentucky and Louisville in particular, it's like it's constant tournaments every weekend. But I feel like the ones that I attend here are simply, it's local. Anybody that, if you got a team, you can put them in.
Yeah.
And when I look at the level of competition, sometimes I'm kind of like, man, what's the benefit of this? So I was walking into Indiana with that same idea. So when you sent me the location and we pulled up to the first spot, the Boys and Girls Club,
Naperville,
it's kind of a little private. And I looked, I was like, okay, it's only 2 courts going, where I'm used to seeing 6 or 7 going. It's just pure chaos, people everywhere. I'm like, okay, I like this because you actually get to see what's going on. It ain't a whole bunch of organized chaos. It's just these teams are here. We're here to play. What you see is what you get. So I actually enjoyed it from that perspective because all the games were very competitive. So that's where we're going to start because, like I said, you brought a team all the way from Arizona to Indiana. And how did that come about in terms of where you traveled to with your team?
Most definitely. So, uh, before the season, so there's it's pretty big now, but there's circuits. So some of the main players are obviously your EYBLs, your Pumas, your New Balances. They all have like very uh, intimate circuits, right? Where they have like set locations, and those locations are just, it's almost like an invitation only. Like you only are getting teams that are part of those certain circuits. So we actually applied, not for EYBL, we ain't ready for EYBL, but we applied for a couple of them. We ended up getting accepted into the prep hoop circuit. So any AAU coach, you'll know who these are. So last year we finished 42nd in the country on the prep hoop circuit, and we did West Coast Elite with the West Coast Elite circuit. So we normally stick with those two because we felt like those two give us the most exposure from what we could get accepted to, and
Mhm.
you're gonna play pretty good competition. So normally we sit down and they normally bombard you with emails. Normally during the high school basketball season, and they'll send out a list of places. Now for prep hoops in particular, you have to pick, I think it's three. It's three locations. Like you have to pick three locations in order to qualify for the main tournament in the end. So we kind of look at, all right, so we're in Arizona. So there's not a big college basketball presence when it comes to recruiting in Arizona. There's a handful of D1 schools. Most of the JUCOs are gone. So we normally would go Arizona, California, and Las Vegas. And there isn't such thing as fatigue. Like you see the same teams over and over, and it just gets not boring, but just like, man, like I want my guys to play somebody on the other side of the country because then you really get to see how you stack up against other top teams.
Okay.
So we picked, let's see, we picked Las Vegas. We always go to Las Vegas just because it's close and it's a good time for the team. We did Chicago, Dallas, and and Indiana, of course. And that was mainly based on like kind of scrolling through and just seeing, all right, so a lot of these teams that are getting exposure and things like that, like you'll see them have like highlight videos and all those things. When you play them in person, you like,
Right.
y'all ain't as good as advertised, man. So you like, man, like they'll have these dominating performances just for them to, for you to find out that, they could play at lower levels. So when you apply for these circuits, they're different tiers, which is probably what you see when you go to tournaments. So there's normally the top tier where you like, hey, I only want to play circuit teams, and those circuit teams can come from anywhere. And then the lower level is, I don't want to play any top ranked teams or anything like that. I want to play strictly independent teams, which is, hey, your Adrian Harper elites. No offense, but it's just like your
Right.
random people who put a team together. And the competition level is very different because you'll see a lot of kids that play on these circuits. They have D1 commits, D1 offers out the wazoo. And if you're a coach, if you're a competitive coach in AAU, man, you want to play at those top levels because AAU want to see how your kids fare against some of these kids that are already going to college. And plus, it gives my guys a realistic like view of like, all right, so this is a D1 kid. You say you want to go D1, this is a D1 kid, and this is how you fare against them. So that's kind of how we did. And this year we wanted to kind of branch out. We wanted to go to Georgia for the Kenny Smith Classic, but we talk about money and all that kind of stuff later because unfortunately, that is a huge deterrent when it comes to AAU basketball. Just people
Right.
being able to afford to travel and all those things. So it severely limits sometimes where you can go, and more importantly, who can go to some of these bigger tournaments. So yeah.
That's super dope because like I literally had this dark cloud in my mind about how AAU is. So that was a misconception on my part. And going up there to Indy last weekend gave me a better explanation on top of you explaining it just now because now that I understand that there's of course you knew that there was levels to this,
Yeah.
but it was like every weekend there's a tournament and,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, "All right, I'm gonna go pull up and go watch." And I'm just saying, I'm like, okay, bro, I just spent $30 to walk in here. And it's like I didn't see anything that just stood out. It's just a bunch of random kids and it's sloppy gameplay and things like that. So I'm like, man, this is just a money grab at this point.
Oh,
Like,
it definitely is. It definitely is.
so when I walked in the gym and seen the teams that were playing up there in India, I'm like, okay, these some real hoopers.
Yeah,
As soon as-
100%.
when I walked in, y'all were getting ready to take the court. So it's perfect how all of it worked out.
Yeah,
And as soon as I saw y'all out here warming up and within the first 2 or 3 minutes, I'm like, okay, I can see this kid right here really can go. This kid can do this and do that. And then you looked at the competition and you're like, okay, he battling. Like this is real deal. So when you explain that, it's like, okay, this ain't for everybody to get in. Like you gotta qualify, you gotta, like you said, you gotta go travel, do these different things. So there are stipulations that comes with what you all do. And I feel
yep,
like that's the filter that I'm speaking of when you start putting through certain teams and it's like you ain't got no business being here at all.
yeah, yep. And you'll see it, man. Like you'll see teams that are kind of play above their bracket, and most coaches will do it just to say, hey, we want to play the tougher competition, but they don't have the horses to compete with some of these guys. So
Mhm.
you'll see 30, 40, 50 point blowouts. And honestly, it's a detriment to the kids because it's like, man, like we came here to get competition. Like, and the way the circuits are structured, they're telling you, hey, like we putting the top teams against the top teams. Well, if I'm running through a team by 30 at halftime and I'm putting my subs in, man, that don't do me no good. Like it makes me
Right.
mad almost. 'Cause I'm like, well, now I can, put some of my younger guys who, don't have a lot of experience in, but overall it kind of makes it boring to be honest with you. And that was one of the reasons we got out of Arizona. Cause
Mhm.
last year, bro, we was stomping mud holes in teams. And I'm like, and if I show you links of these teams that they get hyped up from all these websites, and then I show you the score that we actually played against them, you like, ain't no way. Ain't no way. So the
So
media hype machine is real, bro.
most definitely, and we're gonna touch on that towards the end because I want to touch on this Bronny thing, and me and
Yeah.
you have had several conversations within the
Oh
last year
yeah.
or two, and now the time is here, and I really hate how they're approaching this because I do feel like the media is adding fuel to the fire, most definitely. But it's like, okay, just his name alone is gonna get clicks, it's gonna get views, it's gonna get traction. So, is it unfair to him or not? We're gonna dive into that later, but
Cool.
let's talk about the weekend real quick because
Oh man.
I see you post the scores. I see you talk about your team. And now that
Yep.
I got to see them with my own two eyes, I want to commend you, dog, because y'all are legit. Like top to bottom, you came with 7 kids, correct? Seven, I ain't gonna
Yeah,
say
which
kids, young
which ain't
men.
our norm. Yeah.
I ain't gonna say kids, young men, excuse me. And
Yeah.
it's like not to, gaslight anything or whatever, but the way that they worked was like it stood out to me, and I'm like, okay, this is a legit team. Now, is this the same team that you always play with? So they're used to playing with each other, or every year do you bring in different pieces? How does that work?
So so the tournament you came to, we were actually missing we're missing three of our core players like they would have normally started. Um we had two new additions that came on this year. But the rest of those guys played last year. And just like any team, man, when you come from another program and these two kids in particular came from a program where, they felt like the whole team was basically passed. I don't know if you remember the Fresh Prince episode where it was passing the wheel, and they literally came from that program. So they, and on the West Valley, we're fairly new, so there was only one or two AAU teams that people knew about. So they hear about us. We're in these tournaments making all these noise. So we normally have, people like one or two come in and we'll, kind of evaluate it from there. But so with that comes chemistry issues though. So a lot of kids, and honestly from both ways. So we had two new kids come on this year, actually four come on this year, And you got kids that have been in the program before who are kind of thinking, well, I was here last year, I'm gonna be here this year, and now I'm about to get more minutes, I'm about to get a starting spot. And I'm very equal opportunity, Adrian. I'm gonna tell you, like, if you can play and you can do the things and you can execute what we need you to execute, then by all means. And mind you, I'm not a dictator type coach, but for me, it's important for a kid that steps on the floor. So like we put him in a tournament like that, and you have writers and coaches and things there. They need to see that you're able to make the right play. You're not a ball hog. Like you can do the intangibles that will even get you a look to go to college. So if you can't do that, man, you're gonna be sitting next to me like like a lot of the time till you figure it out. And that's, I mean, I bench my own son, like honestly, just for not doing the things. And we base that every year on what their goals are. It ain't what I want you to do. Because I tell them, like, man, basketball is transactional. So for me, us winning games helps give us more exposure. We can apply for those Puma, New Balance circuits. It brings better quality players in. But for them playing well, wins and losses don't matter. For them playing well, you get the exposure and you get the write ups and you get the coaches calling and reaching out to you. So the better you play, the better opportunity you have to play at the next level. So it's give and take. It's a lot of give and take.
Absolutely, and it was like I said, it was dope to watch. And I'm gonna use this example. Shout out to my family down there in Tampa. They came up last summer to the bigger tournament that we have here in Louisville. That's where your Nike, Puma. I watched Lamelo Ball squad and all of that here, and they came up because he wanted to help get his son exposure. So for his
Yep.
high school down there in Tampa, he had the opportunity to become the all-time leading scorer for his high
Mm,
school,
yeah.
and he fell short just a little bit. So he came in second. But this kid, I want to say 2 years ago, tore his knee up, had to have knee surgery and stuff like that. So he
Mm.
bounced back and was still averaging almost 30 points. And
Gee.
it's like, basketball down there in Florida, it ain't a real big thing in Tampa. So
Mm-hmm.
even with him averaging 30, like you said, you're trying to go and help these kids get this exposure, get this recognition. So when they came up here to Louisville, this was a random group of kids from different high schools that they put together.
Yeah.
And you saw where they were having chemistry issues, or this kid don't want to pass to another kid because it's like, I'm trying to get mine, I'm trying to make a name. And I'm saying all of that because I didn't necessarily see that with your team. That's why I asked, had they all been playing together? Because it was a beautiful thing to watch. It Everybody was sharing the ball. And I'm saying to myself, I was like, bro, like, that's dope, because you don't, when you think about AAU, you really don't see that sometimes. It's like, give me the ball, it's my time to shine. You get yours however you get yours. And it's kind of like one on one the whole time. But I
Yep.
didn't get that watching you all last weekend. So that's why
So
I wanted to ask.
so I would tell you, most of, if you were to look at, let's take the EYBL team, let's take the Knight Riders for example. If you were to look at their roster, you might find a kid from Florida, a kid from Texas, a kid from Maryland, a kid from Arizona, and essentially, I don't know. I already got called out once for airing out people's dirty laundry, but typically, what people do, so we practice twice a week, and teams that some of those bigger teams, they'll have kids fly into the location. They won't practice at all. So the first time you see them is the first time that they teammates seeing them. And some of those more competitive teams, it really is about, yeah, we a team, we all wear the same jersey. But nah, we out here, we trying to get ours. So that whole team concept is lost. For me though, just interactions I've had with college coaches who've came and watched our kids play, relationships I've built with, coaches in California and Tucson. And, I feed off of them a lot. And I'm like, hey, what do you want to see in a college basketball player? Because for me, it's important for me to tailor my team and how we do things to what the coaches who are going to see us want to see. And a lot of them, believe it or not, man, they don't, a lot of them don't go for the kids to score the 40, 50 points in the game. They want the kids to just play like a good steady game of basketball. Like you're not doing too much, you're not doing too little. And one of the things that one of the coaches told me, Coach Flan, he's at Pima College down here in Tucson. And he told me, he said, Coach, to be real with you, I like to go to games when the best. He said we know who the best players are. I want to see how you play when you're having a bad game though. When your shots ain't falling, when you ain't scoring that 30 points, when you ain't getting that triple double, when you ain't dunking on everybody. I want to see what else you can do to impact the game. Do you set off ball screens? Do you get assists for your guys? Do you resort to just guarding the best defender and just rebounding? Those are the guys we want because the truth is most of these kids that are scoring 30 points in high school, law of averages, none of them are going to score that in college on any level. So we want to see who can fit into a program and do the things well. If you can hit a jump shot, that's great. We don't need you to shoot 20 times. We got two other kids, the way the system runs, they do that. We want to see kids that can genuinely play the game of basketball the right way. So that's why I kind of tailor my team on, hey, we're very team centered, team focused. I don't care about you. Honestly, I don't care about you scoring 40 points a game because to me, getting a team win where everybody's eating and we're playing basketball the right way, we'll dominate most teams. But when you go in there with the mindset that hey, you see this coach from over here, you see this coach from over there, and you feel like you got to play hero ball, and then you get the result that we got that weekend in Indiana. So,
Absolutely. And like I said, I commend you on that because from what I saw, they were playing the game the right way. They were looking for each other. They were hustling. And that's the part oftentimes when I do watch AAU, it's not there. The
yeah.
hustle part. And there was a team there. I think they were from Ohio. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Y'all didn't
Mm-hmm.
end up playing against them, but I sat and watched them, and they had a kid. You could tell he was, hey, this is the alpha.
Yeah.
And when the ball went up and they're playing, he just went 3 point line to 3 point line. He was just looking for leak outs to get dunks, shooting a bunch of ill advised threes, not really playing defense. And of course, his family and stuff was there. They're recording. And like you said earlier, putting together these highlight tapes and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it went from me being excited to watch this team play because I was looking in the warm up line. I'm like, this kid is all over the rim. You could tell he could shoot. I was like, man, this kid's getting ready to show out. And then when the ball went up, they got blasted. And it was just simply off of the other team was just playing fundamental basketball, move the ball,
That's it.
everybody's cutting, back doors, this and that. And then you got this kid that's literally like you can ask my wife. He never came below the 3 point line. He was just looking for leak outs and things like that. And I'm just like, bro, like, what are we doing? And that's why it brings me back to like the current state of AAU because
Mm.
now we're going to transition to the second day and what happened, what transpired. And you kind of hit it on the head when you were talking about some of the other teams that have certain kids that may have to fly here, fly there, and they're just now, meeting up with the team and things like that. So my question is, are they really regulating who's getting off these planes and stepping into these arenas? Because I saw a team, and I'm gonna try my best not to, call anybody out or
Same,
lose
same.
anybody under, any trouble or anything. But it's like when I stood there and watched and saw some of these kids, I'm like, there's no way this is a high school athlete.
Yeah.
Like, no disrespect. It's like I've seen high school kids 6'8", 6'9".
Yep.
You also look at their frame, they're slender. You can tell that they're still a high school kid.
Yep.
But in this particular case, I'm looking at their body, I'm looking at their facial features and
Facial
things like
features.
that. I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
So when you come across things like that, or have you come across anything remotely close to what happened last week?
Okay, so let me answer your first question first. So when we submit names for so right now it's a live period going on right now. Live period is where the coaches of all levels can come in. So it's a little more structured. Like this weekend, it's a lot more structured because you have to go through the NCAA. There's a whole registration process. When that isn't going on, literally, you just if you pay the money, you got a team in there. Literally, I can put Aubrey, Peyton, and Paige on the team and say they class of 2024, and they can walk out there and there's no proof of validating. Do you go to this school? Do you birth
Mhm.
certificate is definitely not a thing. So yeah, you pretty much just put names and class years on a roster. You submit them, and that's it. And it's only for scorekeeping. So when we come in there, the rosters are already laid out, so you don't have to worry about filling your name in the book or nothing like that. And that's it. So
Okay.
we have so coaching 17U basketball. So reclassing is a huge thing right now. So I don't know if you know Eddie House. So Eddie House has two twins, Kaden and Kaylee. They go to a school out here in Arizona. They graduate in 2 years, but they're transferring to a prep school for their junior and senior year because they're too old to finish high school. So we are accustomed to playing kids in the 17U bracket. We're used to playing 19, 20, even sometimes 21-year olds. We're used to that. Like we just, it's going to happen. Some people reclass, they're reclassing the eighth grade, they're reclassing the ninth grade, they're reclassing the 10th grade because they feel like it gives their kids an advantage. Now, I couldn't give you a percentage of how often it works, but it does for some people. And I'm really indifferent on that. However, um, a lot of those teams, unfortunately, they build their teams around those one or two kids, so they'll still go out to tournaments and get blasted. Like it doesn't even mean anything because and you can pick them up real fast. Like you said, you can see a kid and you like
Ain't no
nah.
way.
So hey, if we can contain these two guys and make the rest of the regular kids who just there to fill out the roster, probably just pay their money and just happy to be on the ride, we can get them to score. Oh, we in good shape. So we are used to that. What we got this weekend in 16 years of coaching basketball, I have never seen that in my. I've heard about it. I had a friend of mine. Shout out to my boy Chris. I know he's gonna watch this. He's out in Texas. Uh, he said it's happened to him once or twice, but never have I ever put a group of kids on the floor and we looked and there was a 26-year-old man playing basketball with our kids. That I have never seen it.
Bro.
Never.
Like that was insane to me. And
Yeah.
I went to the University of Kentucky. I've been on the court with UK football players. I know what they look like. I know
Yep.
what the physique of a man looks like. And when I saw that, I was just like, nah. But the crazy thing is, I had already spoken about this particular team the day before because
Yeah.
we were sitting there watching, and I made a couple of videos, small clips on my phone and sent it back home. I was like, man, look, I was like, ain't no way these high school kids. I said that what was that, Saturday,
Yeah.
and y'all hadn't even crossed paths with this team yet.
Hadn't even seen them yet.
So I'm saying to myself, I'm like, man, what in the world? So then y'all end up matching up with them, and then right out the gate, just particular plays, a loose ball. It's almost like your kids are just ping pongs, just bouncing off of them. And I'm like, that right there, like we have eyeballs, we can see this. There's no way that if this was a level playing field, that
Yeah.
we're talking about 17-year-old young men, and it's that big of a difference in terms of if I come up and try to get a rebound, I'm just bouncing off of you.
Yeah. It
I was,
was. It was. It was bad. It was bad, man.
oh
And
man,
I will tell you that I'm trying. I'm being careful about what I say. We'll get into it in a second, but I will say, when I went to talk to the refs at halftime, because I'm normally a pretty chill coach, right? I know I'm the amble. If we get out of line, y'all, you gonna hear Mario. You gonna hear him. And I went to talk to the refs at halftime, and I literally told them straight up. I said, "Hey, man, I don't run from no smoke. I post my wins like I post my losses." I said, "But you and I both know this is absolutely ridiculous." And before I could even go any further, he said, "Coach, I know. Listen, we've had parents, we've had other coaches complain about this because it's out of hand." And he said, honestly, we can end the game now. We can forfeit the game now. But I know y'all flew all the way here from Arizona, and it wouldn't be fair for y'all to not get to play your 4 games. But he
mm,
was like, man, we'll try to blow the whistle a little harder this time. But he was like, man, unfortunately, like we can't kick them out the game. We can't do that. Like they're rostered players. Uh, they're listed as class of 2026, so they were sophomores in high school apparently. And he couldn't even. The one rep couldn't even say it with a straight face. He was like, they sophomores in high school, coach. We gon' so for me, and at the end of the day, it comes from me wanting to go to war with a team on the
Mhm.
floor because I love a good back and forth, whether I'm on the winning or losing end. To me, having to pretty much come up with an offense on the fly, where I'm like, man, and I told him like, guys, listen, I know y'all want to be competitive, but at the end of the day, I can't let y'all get hurt by these grown men because then it's gonna turn into something way different. Because I can go out here and tee off on one of them because they adults. But I'm like, hey, just set some screens for you guys. Just take some jump shots, man. I said, but I can't in good faith. If you get out of hand, we out. I'm just letting y'all know we out.
Mhm.
And they wanted to go out there and compete because they were mad too. Because and you saw they came out and they kicked our teeth in like the first couple minutes of the game. And it was kind of once we kind of got over the initial shock that we were playing kids that you and I went to college with, they kind of settled in and were like, all right, man, let's just go out here and play, man. Like it's gonna be what it's gonna be. And is bro is it's such a it's an unfortunate state of affairs that we have, like, as adults we have okayed the fact that people are creating these like competitive advantages, and where they're so lopsided, bro. Like like I said, I don't care if your kid is 19, hell, even 20, but we've created like these. I mean, like, now it's a safety issue. You know what I'm saying? Because now, like, my kids are getting teed off on, and I'm like, dog, like this ain't right. And to me, and I know you got AU coach friends, and I would love to have a panel with them, but like I told the coach, this is a disgrace to basketball, and this is so disrespectful to the game of basketball that I've taught my whole life. And if you want to get your kids D1 scholarships, this is a team named after an NBA player. We're not gonna say his name, but that alone comes with perks. Like, you get put on the top courts, you get put against the top teams just because of your name. You could be O for everything, but because you're, LeBron James elite, you're gonna automatically get in front of the best coaches. They're gonna make sure the coaches are there in front of you, so you already have an advantage as is.
Exactly.
But to really go out of your way to make sure that you have grown men, literally grown men, playing on the floor is that I'm not okay with that, and I will never be okay with that. I'll stand on that too. So
I agree wholeheartedly. I agree. And like I said,
yeah,
I'm gonna harp on the very first day because even when they were over there stretching, I don't know if that was the assistant coach or he's the main coach, the taller guy, and even how they were stretching and warming up, it's like this ain't your typical approach at a high school level, bro. Like they was
yeah,
legit stretching and warming up and going through drills and things like you would see at a D1 or the NBA level. So you are most definitely correct. The perks and things were there. And when I were watching y'all when y'all played um Saturday, your second game, and
yeah,
you could hear all the oohs and the ahs and all of that coming from the other court. So I kept getting up and looking over there, and it was just like a dunk contest.
yeah,
And before you knew it, they were up like I want to say maybe 20 or whatever. And it's just like, come on, bro. Like this ain't even fair
yeah,
at all. And then when I saw the kid the next day, I keep calling him a kid, but it's like first
right.
free throws, the ball comes out of the net. He takes one step backwards, football like Peyton Manning, all the way down
Peyton
to the
Manning.
other end on the money. Kid catches the ball, does a circus, and it goes in. And I'm just like, come on,
Now,
bro.
now for everybody listening, before y'all think, man, this dude just, he took a beat down, and I did. I mean, we came back and fought, but we know we took an L. Kid number one looks at two of my players and goes, man, I'm too old to be effing playing out here with y'all in the first place. One of my players goes, well, how old are you, bro? So I'm 26. The the other dude didn't say nothing, but if we put a picture up of him right now, which I did and got in trouble for, by the way, y'all would be like, ain't no way.
Ain't no
Ain't
way.
no way.
It ain't
So
no
there's a thing, like I was telling you, there's a Facebook group. I'm not gonna say what the Facebook group is because they done already sent my messages to my high school team, my coach at. So there's a Facebook group, And it's the whole purpose of the Facebook group is for kids to post highlight videos because they're looking for coaches, like to send their film to coaches. Well, what it really is, if you look on the page, there's a lot of kids from like Senegal. What was that guy from? Congo, Kenya, and basically they're looking to gain citizenship to play basketball. So what a lot of these junior colleges, prep schools are really big on it. They will, in so many words, adopt these kids, bring them over. They
Mhm.
get legal documentation saying, "We gonna say you 15 right now." Get legal documentation saying this kid is 15, and then you can play these kids that look like they've been through 3 Amistad movies against 15-year-olds and call it good. And it's a sad state of affairs, man. And it's that's a podcast for another time about the stress that college
Absolutely.
coaches have, because they unfortunately they're trying to do what they got to do to win. So if bringing these kids on to do these things give them a better competitive advantage, so be it, because they keep their job. So if that means they gotta bend the rules a little bit, unfortunately there's loopholes for those type things to happen. So
Yep. Like I said, it's becoming a trend here in Kentucky, and I'm not gonna harp on it
yeah,
because there's a particular school here to where it's like, okay, one out, one in type thing. And you're like,
mm-hmm.
wait a minute, man, how y'all keep getting these 6'10, 6'11s and they're going to state, you know what I'm saying? Like it's most definitely a competitive advantage. But then, like, what we're speaking on, it's like you're looking at these kids, quote unquote, and it's like, wait a minute, man, no, something ain't right.
Yeah,
Something ain't right. There's like, all right. So it's definitely becoming a thing. And I know that here I went to a middle school tournament
yeah.
last and this was a seventh grader, 6'6" African kid. And
Uh-oh.
you would have thought it was like what was old buddy's name? Thon Maker or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm looking at this kid is a seventh grader, eighth grader, and I'm just like, come on now. This kid just pops up out of thin air, like
yeah.
no roots, no ties.
Nothing.
Where's your fourth, fifth grade? You're like these kids are just popping up, and
Yep.
I'm just, come on, man, what are we doing? What are we doing? But real quick before we change topics, I want to commend you again because I want to. I don't know if that's because you're a Kobe fan and you kind of got some Phil Jackson, that Zen master going on, but it's like that to me, like to have the poise in certain situations during the game where it's like, you know what, I'm not gonna blow up. I'm not gonna get, out of my comfort zone. I'm just gonna chill. Let them
Yep.
figure it out.
Yep.
That takes a level of maturity, not only from you as a coach, but even from the players. So I think
Yeah.
that was dope in its own self because not only did you have the trust in them, but they didn't fold under that pressure of like, I'm coach ain't saying nothing. What do I do? What do I do? They were just like,
Yep.
hey, we got it.
Yep. And
How did you get to that point?
so so it's funny you mentioned Phil Jackson because that's literally where I got that from. And he said, I remember him saying, sometimes I don't do a lot of bunch of barking and yelling. Sometimes I just sit there, we'll be down by 15. I'll let them figure it out. And let me first say this: I have a lot of faith in my kids, even when we're not at a full roster. I know what each and every one of them can do individually. Um, if it came down to if it came down to it, and they'll tell you we can pull up one up on right now. They'll tell you, man, coach tell us all the time, and he'll go to war with us any day. And we beat kids, 6'8", 6'9". We've knocked them out because we have the resiliency to do that. Sometimes, like I was telling you, there is a such thing as overcoaching, and I sometimes I do yell. Don't get me wrong. Leave the time when I do yell, but when I see my kids, they're out there, arguing, bickering with each other, and you can see the other team. The other team is like the game you talking about. The team was looking at them like, man, they arguing with each other. Like, come on, we gonna keep playing as a team. We gonna keep playing as a team. And so I said, you know what? Y'all don't listen to me no way. I'm out. I'm just gonna chill. And I went to the end of the bench. And for the first couple of times, one of our kids came down and he was like, "Coach, what you want us to do?" And I said, "You can do what you want to. Y'all don't listen to me anyway." I said, "After this, I'm packing my stuff and I'm leaving anyway." So my son looked over, and my son is used to this. So he looked over, and they call a timeout, and he's the one. And this is a situation for any young coach, man. It gets tough. Don't get me wrong, because you want to chime in, but this is where you find out who your leaders are, because when they call the timeout, they got in the huddle. Mind you, I'm at the end of the chair. I'm watching Paige sleep in the stands. Like, I'm out here chilling, right? So, but I heard one of them say, "Hey guys, the reason why we getting our butt kicks right now is because we arguing with each other over stupid stuff. So let's do this for the next 3 minutes. Let's just play good team defense." And that's literally the first thing they said. So I'm listening. I'm like, okay, all right. And I heard one of them say, "Hey man, we gotta start playing for each other. Like, this is crazy. Like, y'all want to go home 0 for 4? Like, we better than this. We done flew all the way from Arizona, and we're gonna go 0 and 4 because we arguing with each other. Like, nah, let's go out here and play. These dudes suck anyway." And they went out there, and mind you, they got me a little nervous for a minute, but they pulled it out in the end. And after that game, I just remember them talking to each other. We went out in the hallway, and they were apologizing to each other. And you just like, "Hey man, like, my bad, man. I was just frustrated from yesterday. I wasn't feeling good." And sometimes, man, you have to be able to, as a coach, man, I spent hours with these kids. Some of them play on my varsity team, so they know I spend hours with them, bro. So they know what they have to do. Sometimes they get in their own head, and sometimes the best feedback comes from your peer and not your coach. So you got to let them kind of figure out. These kids ain't dumb. They know exactly how to play basketball. They know the nuances, the ins and the outs of basketball. So sometimes you got to sit back and just let them use the brains that God gave them to figure it out. And they did.
That's dope, man. I love
Yep.
it. It was a learning experience even for myself because I coach elementary and
Yeah.
I get it. They are kids still trying to learn and figure it all out. But me being the competitive person that I am, I'm like, if we just spent the whole week preparing
Mm-hmm.
and then we get to Saturday morning and everything that we just spent the last 5 days going over, it goes out the window. That's when I get frustrated. Simple little mistakes. I'm like, I honestly feel like there wasn't a game that I didn't lose my voice.
Yeah.
And for some people, that may work. But then for some people, coaches always yelling, they shut down.
Yep.
So it's like
Yep.
seeing that, especially in some of those circumstances where it's a back and forth game, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying, tug of war, and for you to be able to be like, you know what, y'all go do what you're supposed to do.
Yep.
Y'all got it. And they actually done it. I was like, yo,
Even
hey,
the ref came and stopped me after the game. He was like, "Coach, that might have been one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life." And I said, "I ain't do nothing. I just Once you empower kids, bro, and this regards to any level, just like you practice with your kids 5 days a week. Trust me, they know them plays, they know the game plan. Just sometimes when you got to get them to get over the me and start playing for the we. And once they realize, especially when you play a team that's unselfish, and you see like, wait, they kicking our ass because they being unselfish. We losing because we being selfish. And
exactly.
once they figure that out, bro, you good to go. You good to go.
Go. Like I said, good stuff, man. So, real quick, this last topic, and I
Yeah,
love how this all shaped up because I heard some different pointers and things going back to what you said a few minutes ago. You was like, some coaches aren't necessarily looking for the 30-point score, this and that. Do you understand the game? Are you willing to
yeah.
play it the right way? This and that. So, the last topic that I want to discuss is Bronny James.
Mm,
I'm on record saying that at certain points when he was at Sierra Canyon and stuff like that, I was like,
yeah,
"Man, he don't have that takeover. Like he's just out there. Like
yeah,
he's just cool with being. I don't even want to say the second option. At some
yeah.
point, he was like maybe third or fourth,
Sure was.
and
I
we
was
was just
right there with you.
like, bro, I was like, nah, this ain't it. This ain't it. And I kept feeling like maybe they went to Sierra Canyon to kind of help blend him in with some of these other kids to where it didn't stand out. But then it was like, okay, boom, out of nowhere, he hit this peak where it's like, okay, Ronnie can jump. Wait a
real
minute.
high.
Bronny got a shot. Bronny's got court vision. He's just you could tell that he understands the game.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, boom. People had questions about the McDonald's All American thing. He proved that he deserved to be on that stage.
Yep.
Boom. He's in college. He has this scare.
Yeah.
And then I'm saying to myself, had that been any other kid that went through that, you wouldn't have put that type of expectation trying to recover and get back on track.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, why is this kid receiving all this? I mean, we know why, in my
Oh yeah.
opinion.
We
We know
definitely
why.
know why.
I want to take a step back and try to tie all of this in terms of AAU, how it all
Yeah.
transitions. You have a group of young men that's trying to earn and get those stripes and get that recognition. And I feel like, why can't we view this kid in the same light? Disconnect him from who his dad is. Can
Yeah.
the kid play or not?
Yeah. So I used to be a man, Bronny kind of kind of kid, but he plays the game very well. And if you look at how he plays, he reminds me a lot of it's one of the Holiday kids. I think it's Drew. It might be Drew Holiday, but he doesn't. He's one of those kids. He's not gonna do too much. He's not gonna do too little, but he always knows the right play to make. So even if like Bronny becomes a 3-and-D type player, that's perfect for him. And honestly, the truth is, he's not trying to go out and be his dad, but he is a solid basketball player. Now, I think from the from our basketball brains, we are trained to think that, all right, kid is in college averaging a triple double. He's shooting 60% from the 3 point line. He should be the number one draft pick. Where historically, if you look at some of those guys, we were talking about Kyrie the other day, a lot of coaches draft kids off of potential. And potential doesn't mean the potential to score 30, 40 points a game, but can I put this kid in my program and can I put him in what we got going here and it fit? And Bronny, if you think about it, he's okay with that. When he was a sophomore, he had two other kids that was flat out dogs, and they did all the scoring. They did everything. So Bronny didn't have to do that. When they left, then that's when he started to peak. So that tells me that Bronny understands roles. He understands like, hey, I don't have to go out here and do everything because I got this guy, I got this guy, and I got this guy. All I need to do is come in and do the thing. So like as a coach, a good coach, which it sounds like he had a good one at Sierra Canyon, you give all of your players roles. And you say, hey, man, Adrian, you know what? Today I need you to go give me 8 points and 5 rebounds. That's your goal today. Nothing more, nothing less. If you exceed that, great. But this is what I need you to do for the team. Bronny 100% takes me as one of those kids where like, hey, if I'm looking at how my team is constructed and what I can bring, which he's a very good defender, pretty decent mid-range shooter, he can get the ball to guys in transition. Like, that's all I need you to do, Bronny, and I'm okay. And the bonus that he has for him, and let's just call it what it is, man, people are like mad that he's a recipient of nepotism, bro. This is anybody who I'm in the Air Force and I have reaped the benefits of networking with certain people and who were in certain positions who were able to do things for me that I wouldn't be able to do for myself simply because I networked with them and I knew who
Absolutely.
they were. Why is Bronny any different? His dad is arguably the greatest basketball player of all time. So we saying, hey, getting the benefits of this. Well, if you look at it from that standpoint, look what happens if Bronny does get drafted. His dad possibly could come behind him and they gonna make some program really, really rich. But let's not take the fact that he's not some kid that plays for AZ Rise and Grind. This kid is a Division 1 basketball player. He did something right to be there. Like the kid can play basketball. Like first and foremost,
Absolutely.
he can do the things. Think about who he's surrounded by, who he's practiced with, where he's practiced at, the training regiments, and all those kind of things. That doesn't happen for just regular bum ass kids. Like he's
Right.
in that position, and trust me, if he wasn't that good, I guarantee you his dad wouldn't have him in that situation where he didn't think that his son wouldn't be able to handle it. But clearly, there's an understanding that Bronny can play at this level, and we've seen people in the NBA. We just like, how you get here? Like, you know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
So I don't understand. I don't understand the hate, because if it was any of us, if any of our parents was Savannah and Bronny James, and we put in the same amount of work, Bronny LeBron didn't get Bronny that scholarship to USC. He had offers from everywhere. That kid still had to play basketball. It ain't like he just sat on the bench and a college recruited him off potential. Nah,
Yeah,
he still had to go out there and play basketball. And when he needed to play basketball at a high extreme level, he could do that. But when he needed to just make the right basketball plays to be successful, he did that too. So I don't understand what the hate for the kids. I hope he does great. He's gonna have an awesome story, especially coming back from that heart situation, bro. But I'm
exactly.
like, let's let the kid be great. The Jordan kids went through the same thing. And it's like, man, like you gotta let kids be kids at the end of the day. Yes, he's Bronny James Jr. He's a kid at the end of the day, bro. And he even said, I want to make my own name for myself. But you gotta be out your rabbit ass mind if you think my parents ain't gonna be like, hey, I can get you to the seat, but you gotta be able to put on the right shoes to get to the seat first. Because he had to do his part to get to that situation where he's about to get in now. Now, will he get drafted? Probably. I think once the kids that are like must grabs are off the board, which this year is looking like it ain't
Once we
gonna
get
be
past
there.
the lottery, if you even get through all the lottery, it's like to me. And again, I ain't mean to cut you off, bro.
No, no, no. You good. You good.
Like with this particular class, I feel like now is the opportunity, if any, like go out there, showcase your individual talent. You got
Yep.
all these contestants, participants, or whatever. You're in the top 10 for vert. You put yourself in the conversation as one of the best shooters out of this particular group. So it proves that you can be on this stage with
Yep.
this caliber of kids that's coming out for this particular draft.
Yep.
I would never be mad at that.
Not at all. Because again, LeBron ain't shooting them jump shots when he went with 19 to 25 the other day. Like, coaches want to know if you can, this is even in college, coaches want to know if you can consistently hit jump shots. You know, if you're athletic, you got the wings, you can play defense, even in the little scrimmages. Bro, like, he's playing against kids that are projected to get drafted. So if I'm beating them, why not me? You know what I'm saying? Like, why not me? And don't, like you said, after 10, man, it wouldn't surprise me if a team from that 20 to 32 in that first round took a chance on them, or that early, second round situation, especially the second round for sure. Like,
Right.
why wouldn't you take a chance on them? What's the worst that can happen is that Bronny doesn't pan out to be his dad. That's the absolute worst thing that can happen. Which he probably won't. Let's be real. He probably won't. But look how much revenue you about to bring in if you're a Dallas Mavericks owner, or the Lakers. Look how much money you about to bring in just for having these butts in seats. Because now it's a business. It's less about basketball and it's more about putting butts in seats. We got to make sure people are interested to come watch the product we put on the floor. You got to be out your rabbit ass mind if you think, I don't care what team it is. You trying to tell me we might get LeBron James and his son on the same team and we've been sucking for years? Nah, fam. Like,
Exactly. And so I
you'd
was
be
reading
crazy.
today, Danny Ainge out there in Utah.
Yeah,
He done put them headlines and them things out there, and it's like you said, it now we talking about business moves, chess
yep,
moves. Hey, if I can try to lure him out here, I'm gonna do it. And if
yep.
anything, as a parent, even if LeBron doesn't play with Bronny, I did my job by advocating for my son
That's
and put
it.
the eyes on. I'm like, what parent wouldn't try to position their child
Yep.
to be better off? And like, I'm like, that to me is just foolish. And real quick before we get off here, it's like I'm looking at it from a lens of ever since they changed the rule to where college kids now can go test the waters, see what the scouts say they may need to improve on, and then
Yeah,
they make the decision whether to keep their name in or come back to school. I'm like, that's the process that he's currently in.
that's
Why
it.
should he be able to do that? Like, why are we saying that he should not be able to go to the combine what college kid are we turning away other than him simply because of his name? I'm like, now
Exactly.
y'all just being foolish. And in terms of nepotism and things like that, what about Sharif? A lot of people forget about that situation, and it's very similar. Sharif
Yep.
had heart surgery, had those different things that was a setback. He went to LSU. You don't think it was no strings pulled there?
Exactly.
He went undrafted. Boom, he ends up on the Lakers practice squad and this and that. You don't think any strings were pulled there in terms of, hey, we know who your dad is and what he done for this organization. We're
Yep.
going to return the favor and try to give you that. And it's like people forget that that's a real situation. Sharif
Hey,
O'Neal, that happened. So it's like, why are we telling this kid that he can't reap the benefits of who his dad is?
exactly. I don't understand it, and I don't agree with it. And honestly, Carmelo's son is about to reap the same benefits. Chris Paul kid's gonna reap the same benefits. Matt Barnes kid's gonna reap the same benefits. Bro, think about it. Like for everybody out here who listen to this, and you might disagree. Imagine that you're an NBA basketball player where you're a world champion or whatever, and you built that kind of rapport over X amount of years in the NBA where you can literally pick up the phone and be like, hey, my son out here balling, can he get in the camp? Like, take a look at him. You never know. Because again, the kid has to still go perform. But man, if I can offer that opportunity for any of my kids, if I can call a school right now and say, hey, I got a kid, Jaden Davis, right now, my son, can you go get him on? You'd be lying to us both if you told us, no, I wouldn't do that. I want him to. Yeah, right, bro. Listen,
Exactly.
sometimes your network will affect your net worth. I remember somebody telling me that a long time ago. But man, sometimes it ain't about what you know, it's about who you know. And if they can get you to the table to make it happen, you ain't gotta like it. But I guarantee you, most people wish they had that access to people to give their kids an opportunity.
And I'm all for it. That's why I tell people it's like I'm to the point now. You've known me long enough. You've seen some of the back and forths I've had in some of these groups and things like that. It used to get ugly. And I'm like, you know what? I've hit that level of maturity to where it's like, it ain't worth it.
It
Save
ain't
your
worth it.
save your blood pressure, man. Just leave it
There
alone.
you go.
But it's
Yep.
like after this, I'm gone. Because what I just saw this maybe night before last. LeBron in Savannah was at his daughter's volleyball game, and
Mm-hmm.
they showed a clip of her. And for her age and the way she started, I was like, dude, my daughter was on the middle school volleyball team, and I didn't see her serve the ball the way I saw this little child, Zuri, serve the ball. And I'm like, that's pretty impressive. But then
Yeah.
when you look at the comment section, and I get it, it's the internet, bro. I get it.
Yeah. That's a
But it
ruthless place.
it drives me insane to see people sit here and try to criticize and critique. And the child is 9 or 10 years old, and you're
Yeah.
doing all of this simply because of how you feel about a complete stranger and their dad. Like, nah, bro. Like at some point, it's like, where do you draw the line? And that's why I feel like for me, I have a soft spot when I see things like that. So it's like I'm a diehard LeBron fan simply because of all the backlash and the expectations and the things that they put on this one person. Because I've
Mm-hmm.
never seen this before, and I love
Yeah.
basketball to death. I've been watching basketball since I was 10, 11 years old. I've seen all the superstars, and I've never seen a level of expectation even this late into we've never seen anybody this late in their career perform at this level. Whether it equates to wins, that's a whole nother conversation.
And we
But just
won't either, by the way. We will never see this again in our lifetime. Never. I'm hard pressed on it. You won't see another LeBron James situation like that ever again.
and the
Ever.
fact that it's just like, who cares? I'm just like, bro, come on, man. What can this guy do to where it's like, no, even when he announces his retirement, I just feel like we're just gonna be like, oh, whatever, good. I'm glad he's gone. I'm just like,
Ooh, see, you say that, and I'm gonna tell you, man, I hit the button. I respectfully disagree. So here, so I know we run out of time, but I will tell you, and I will even admit this. I have watched LeBron James do some things that even my GOAT, Kobe, like I've never seen him do. The truth is, look at how much love Kobe got after he died. Everybody loves Kobe, right? When LeBron James hangs this up, you won't fully appreciate what he's done over the past 20 some odd years until you don't see it anymore. Because you'll start, bro, think about it. We look at teams now that are down 3-1. And what do we used to think? Oh, man, the series over. We good. Now, we like, well, hold on. There's game 6 right around the corner. You know what I'm saying? Like, that you can make it happen. LeBron made that look like he made the impossible possible, bro. And I don't care who you are, who you a fan of, who you stand on. Like when that man, when it's all said and done, dog, witness is the greatest. That's the greatest line ever associated with him. Because even sometimes in my partial hate of LeBron, sometimes I sit back and I watch and I'm like, dog, that's incredible. This man is damn near 40 years old, and we blaming the Lakers' playoff success or failures on a 40-year-old man.
Word.
If that ain't great, I don't know what Juvenile say. If he ain't a hot boy, then what do you call that? Like, I don't know.
That's fair, dog. I love it, man. And honestly, man, that's where we're gonna leave it. Perfect,
Yeah,
perfect. Because I'll be 40 in October. I was at the gym with my son yesterday. We was putting up shots and stuff for 2 hours. I thought I needed a wheelchair to get out of there, man. So I
hey,
can't.
look, I gave him some sound advice, man. So I hope he take advantage of it, man. I'm proud of him, man. He was out there showing out in Indiana, man.
And didn't hit nothing yet. I almost cussed, man. He didn't hit nothing yesterday. That's why I said I don't know what he was on, man. I don't know what he was on. But
Oh
good stuff.
man,
I definitely appreciate your time, man. Dope conversation. It was
definitely,
very, very enjoy. I enjoyed meeting you, man. I wish we would have had more time.
definitely,
We can just sit down and chop it up. But salute to you and the squad and the rest of your season this summer. I'm gonna be keeping tabs on y'all, man. So
yeah, for sure.
I
And like
know
I
the
told you,
routine.
man. I told you in person, man, but I want to say it on your podcast, man. Like, thank you again because this doesn't happen without that man over there, man. And it was an honor to actually meet you in person and shake your hand and just say thank you for inspiring me to do this, bro. Like for real, for real. So just from what you did and the work you put in, it's inspiring people to pick up that microphone and hit record, bro. So don't ever take that for granted. You know, me and you have a lot of conversations online anyway, but even when them times you get frustrated, man, just remember, dog, like all this, and probably other people too. All this happened because you were motivated enough to step out on faith, bro. So never forget that, man. So I appreciate you for inspiring me to go do it. Because now I done just inspired another young lady I work with. Now she about to start a podcast doing food reviews and stuff. And I'm telling her the same stuff you told me, bro. So that's how you pay it forward, man. So forever indebted to you. So that's why it was an honor to finally meet you, bro.
Definitely appreciate that, man. And once you get the information for that podcast, plug me.
Oh yeah,
Know I'm
you
there.
know it. You
Definitely
know it.
appreciate it. Because, like I said, man, and I don't mean to ramble or go off on a tangent, but when I listen to your episodes or even Clyde, and it's like I'm sitting here listening, working, and then I hear y'all plug it, and I'm like, all right, man, that's dope. Sometimes I will be in a funk, and then when I hear
Yeah.
that, it makes me say, you know what, man, keep going. You may not
Yep.
hear it from the people that you're closest to, but guess what? Somebody all the way across the country,
All the way.
like I'm like, you know what? Nah, man. I was like, I'm not gonna give in to it. So definitely appreciate it. And y'all be sure to go out and support my therapist. Made me do this podcast, man.
Please, please. And
OZ
what? Hey, E
Master.
man, shout out to E man. E man, we got to get on the podcast. The three of us together, man. We got
Look,
to. We
we
got to
gotta
talk
make
about
all of
something.
it happen. We gotta
Yeah,
make all of it happen. So tell the family I said hello, man. You said your son
definitely,
got his graduation and stuff going on. Congratulations. And till we meet again, bro.
definitely.
We out.
Ass toasted, no competition. Amnesia coasting. I feel so high, I feel so live. My body's in the twine. Amnesia coasting. I feel so live, and I know why. That I can't deny. Amnesia coasting. Giddy, fine wine, fools, malt liquor. Wish me I'm high class.